Welcome to the Music Nut Program. I'm John Alpic, and this is an album ranking. On today's show, I will rank the four studio albums by what is known as the first supergroup in rock and roll. They were highly influential. One of the great power trios, Cream, or in England, they were called The Cream. Cream were comprised of Jack Bruce on bass guitar, lead vocals, and a variety of instruments. He was the main writer in Cream, along with his co-writer Peter Brown. He had prior been in Graham Bond Organization as well as Man for Man. Ginger Baker on drums. He was also an occasional writer, an occasional lead vocalist, and he also was in the Grand Bond Organization. And Eric Clapton on guitar, occasional lead vocal and co-write. He was in the Yardbirds and he was in John Mayall's Blues Breakers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank the albums today, and then I'll show you some other Cream related albums that I have in varying formats and the like. So, number four is Goodbye. Goodbye was released after the band had broken up in 1969. This is a one record set. Half of it is live and half of it is studio songs. Three studio songs. First studio song was Badge. Badge was a song that Eric Clapton wrote with George Harrison. This is by far the best song on the album. This used to get a lot of album-oriented rock radio play on WEZX, Rock 107, Scranton, Pennsylvania. This got played quite a bit. It starts with that opening bass line, and then it goes into that very memorable verse. And then the bridge is very, very cool. It leads into this very lyrical guitar solo from Eric. Wonderful track. Great single, under 3 minutes long. Again, it used to get played a lot on AOR. You rarely hear it now. You might hear it on deep tracks on Sirius XM channel 27. The other two songs are doing that scrapyard thing. This is a song that Jack Bruce wrote. This song's okay. I was never high on this. I like it more than I used to. As I do the next track, which is what I bring down. This was a song that Ginger Baker wrote. Jack Bruce did the lead on this. This song I always liked a little bit more. It's got a little more drama to it. They're decent songs, but I think they pale in comparison to Badge. And I think that's what ultimately leads me to put this at number four in the album ranking, four album catalog. My number four is Goodbye from 1969. My number three is their debut album from 1966, and that is Fresh Cream. Now, Fresh Cream, a lot of the songs on here were penned by Jack Bruce. You had Janet Godfrey, who was Jack Bruce's wife at the time, co-writing a couple songs on here. And there's also some really cool blues covers on this album as well. We got I Feel Free on this version, which was one of their first singles. When I bought this on cassette in early 1987, and this is it right here, it wasn't on this, but when they re-released these albums and remastered them, they put I Feel Free on here. And I Feel Free is one of Cream's most memorable songs. They had this black and white video they used to play on MTV back in the 80s when they'd show closet classics. And that was when I first heard the song. And it was a live performance. And this was a song that Belinda Carlisle later covered on one of her successful mid to late 1980s albums. The name of the album escapes me right now, but I do remember it being on there and hearing that song. I Feel Free is very memorable, very cool. and it has a really cool bass line on here from Jack as well. NSU is very, very good. That just would go to great heights live. It's a shorter track, very well done. Sleepy Time is more of a slower blues. That works very well. Dreaming is a cool pop song under 2 minutes long. Great vocal here from Jack. It's very memorable lyric on here. Very cool. Sweet Wine. This is one that Janet Godfrey co-wrote with Ginger Baker. This is another song that will go to great heights when you would see them live. Excellent track. Spoonful's a cover of the Willie Dixon song. They really made this their own. They turned this into an epic 6.5 minutes. Jack's harmonica and his bass playing, and especially his vocal, is really a highlight of this album. Wonderful interplay on this track. The guitar solo here from Eric is excellent. Cat Squirrel is a traditional track. This is a really cool track. On here, Jack plays the bass. I'm sorry, he's playing harmonica on here. And there's very little vocals on here. It is more of a jam. And it always feels like it's going to go off the rails, but it never quite does. It stays exciting throughout. Four Until Late is a Robert Johnson song. This is a song that Eric Clapton sang on. And this is cool. British, it's a British pop song. If it's in arranged like a British pop song, but it is one of bluesman Robert Johnson's originals. Rollin' Tumblin', now we're going into the blues. It's a Muddy Waters tune. And you got cool harmonic on here from Jack. But the playing on here is tremendous. Very, very cool. I'm so glad this was a Skip James song. This was another song that will go to new heights when they would play it live. The guitar playing on here is outstanding. The counter bass lines and the drumming are also awesome on here. Toad is last track. That's Ginger Baker original. This is a cool instrumental that would lead into a kick-ass drum solo from Ginger, which they would stretch out to very strong, long lengths in their live shows, which I'll go into in a little bit. Now, I'm ranking this at number 3. This is a 10 out of 10. All these albums I'm going to talk about from this point are 10s. My number 3 is Fresh Cream. One thing that's really cool about this catalog, you got 4 albums, but they all sound very different. My number 2 is the band's most popular and biggest selling album. This came out in what I consider the best year in rock music, 1967, and that is Disraeli Gears. Now, Disraeli Gears, there's a lot of nice variety on here. You got pop sensibilities, and you got their first gigantic hit single. This hit number 5 in the United States in Sunshine of Your Love. Eric and Jack trade off the vocals on this. A very classic guitar solo on here. The vocals are excellent. Very memorable track with a lot of good hooks in it. The first song on the album is Strange Brew. I remember on MTV, they would play this black and white performance video on their closet classics on there. This is one that it's co-written by Eric, Gail Collins, and Felix Popularity. And by this point, Felix Popularity was producing the albums and he was adding in a lot of instruments as well. Essentially, he became the 4th member of Cream. Strange Brew is a pretty cool tune. World of Pain. This one, again, you have Eric and Jack trade off on the vocals. Wonderful drumming on here from Ginger. This was co-written by Felix Popularity and his wife, Gail Collins. Dance the Night Away. This is a Jack and Peter Brown co-write. This is a song where you really hear the greatness of Ginger Baker. He makes his drums sing on this song. I think you want to hear great rhythmic but very creative drumming. This is the song that you have to hear. Dance the Night Away is wonderful. Blue Condition. This is Ginger Baker's lead vocal. As great a drummer as Mr. Ginger Baker was. He had this very distinctive way of singing. He did not have a great voice, but you knew it was him when he sang. It's more of a slower blues. I dig it. I did, like a lot of people might say it's a throwaway. I always thought the song was cool. Tales of Brave Ulysses. This was co-written by Eric Clapton, Martin Sharp, and boy, Eric really loves his wah wah pedal on this. This is a song that's very popular in the Cream canon, and it would actually lead into White Room. Some of the guitar lines on here. Very, very cool song. Got played heavy on AOR back in the day too. Slobber, she was like a bearded rainbow. One of the finest Cream compositions, in my opinion. What a wonderful spirited vocal from Jack on here. Excellent track. The bridge on this is a killer. The drumming, fantastic. This song just works all the way around. This should have been a hit single, in my opinion. Back then they were only putting out like two singles an album, but this is a song that got a lot of love on your album-oriented rock radio and your classic rock radio stations. You still hear it on deep tracks on Sirius XM. We're Going Wrong. This is a Jack Bruce song led by that timpani playing from Ginger Baker. It's got a lot of emotion, a lot of passion to it, a lot of drama to it as it just keeps building and building. And Eric's guitar playing, those chords just keep getting louder and louder. And Jack is really holding some really long notes on here in a falsetto voice. Very, very cool. Outside Women Blues. This is Arthur Reynolds' track arranged by Eric Clapton. This is an Eric Clapton lead vocal as well. This is very, very cool. Take It Back has more of an English pop feel to it. A late, like an early feel, like a 1930s song, the way it's written and performed. It's very, very cool. Mother's Lament is a traditional track, which is vocal and piano. It's a cool way to end the album. Again, maybe like Blue Condition, someone would call this a throwaway. I think it ends the album perfect. I think it's awesome. It's just a little different. My number two is Disraeli Gears from 1967. And my number one is Wheels of Fire from 1968. Little story for you. By 1988, 1989, my musical tastes were really changing. Yes, I was into Cream by 87. And then later on that year, I bought my first stereo with a CD player. And I wasn't buying a lot of CDs. I was still buying cassettes, but I found this on CD. It was at a place called the Listening Booth. I always talk about Joe Nardone's Gallery of Sound. That's the local record store. We also had a record store called Listening Booth. There it would be called Wall to Wall Listening Booth. Then it was just called The Wall. They would have letters on the CD cases, and each letter represented a different price. I went to these stores enough. I knew what letter meant. Well, I knew the price for each letter. I had them memorized. So I knew when this was out on CD, this was a 32.98 CD, $32.98. They put the wrong letter on it, and I got it for 11.98. So I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna buy it. I mean, I'm 17 years old. I'm going to high school. I'm washing dishes on the side at Ollie's restaurant. And I took it up to buy the album. And so the woman who's waiting on me goes over to the manager and he's going, "You put the wrong label on it. You got to give it to him for that price." And this other woman comes over to me and goes, "Guess what, sir? You saved over $20 on this." I'm like, "Oh, really?" Acting all stupid, right? Took it home. So I'm 17, still in high school. My dad's getting ready for work. And I go, "Hey, Dad, guess what I picked up?" And I showed him Wheels of Fire, right? And he goes, "You're listening to the same shit I used to listen to." And I go, "Yeah." And they put the wrong label on it. I saved over $20 on it. He goes, "Good for you." Story I like to tell. But that's not the only reason this is my favorite album by Cream. I love the variety on here. This is a very versatile album. And 1968, 66 through 69, we were getting a lot of albums where we were exploring what pop music could be. And this is where Felix Pappalardi would really become the fourth member in Cream. He produced this album just as he produced Disraeli Gears. So it came in one of these fat box CDs here. That's what they called them, or a Fat Boy. And this is one of the first Fat Boy double CDs that I bought. I think my first Fat Boy CD or Fat Box like this was probably Billy Joel's Greatest Hits 1 and 2, and this was my second. So, disc 1 was in the studio, disc 2 was live at the Fillmore. First song is White Room. White Room would become the second biggest single for Cream. It would hit number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. This was written by Jack and Peter Brown. It is a song that you still hear a lot on your classic rock stations, your album-oriented rock stations. You still hear in the United States, you still hear Sunshine of Your Love, Sunshine Your Love and White Room very extensively. Very memorable track with the opening guitar chords and cellos being complemented by the timpani from Ginger Baker. Then they go into the main verse, which Jack sings with a plum, wonderful chorus on it, which he sings in more of a falsetto voice. Here you got another cool guitar solo here. Well, plenty of wah wah from Eric. And I was saying the cellos here, it was actually violas that were played by Felix Pappalardi on here in unison with the guitar lines. But it's one of the great classic rock songs, and certainly one of the finest in the Cream catalog. Sitting on Top of the World was a song that was originally written I, by Walter Vinson and Lonnie Chapman, but it was most well known for the version done by Howlin' Wolf. Here they really slow down the tempo on this blues tune, and Jack sings the hell out of it. Wonderful performance. This is a song that's been performed by a lot of different artists, and they did some different things with it. Most notably, I remember the Grateful Dead had covered this song, and they did it at a much faster pace. Very, very cool tune. Passing the Time, which is co-written by Ginger Baker and Mike Taylor. This is really led by the glockenspiel on here and the calliope. A lot of different instruments on here. Felix Pappalardi's playing organ pedals. Very whimsical song that, and then it goes into its second movement, and then it becomes a lot more hard hitting. There's goes into this nice little jam that kind of fades out before it goes more into its gentle beginnings. Really cool tune. Cool tune. As you said, was a Jack Bruce Peter Brown co-writes with Jack playing acoustic guitars, cello, and vocal, Ginger Baker playing the hi-hat. As you said, is very, very different, but another wonderful performance from Jack on the vocal on here. Excellent. Pressed Rat and Warthog. This was written by Ginger Baker and Mike Taylor. Starts out with the recorder and the trumpet and the tonette in there from Felix. Very different song. It's got one of the most original lyrics you'd ever hear, and Ginger sings it very flats like this. I always thought this song was really cool. It's very different. The drumming on here is awesome. We got a guitar solo going into the fade out at the end. But it's a very creative track. I mean, we were challenging what music could be in the 60s. This is a great example. Politician, written by Jack and Pete. This is more of a blues track. This is a song they would play live. Very, very cool. Those Were the Days is more whimsical, but very, very memorable. This was written by Ginger and Mike Taylor, but Jack Bruce does the lead vocal on here. The tubular bells and the marimba sound very cool on this one. Born Under a Bad Sign. This is a song that's been covered by many artists. It was written by Booker T. Jones from Booker T and the MGs and William Bell. I think this is like the definitive version of Born Under a Bad Sign because of Jack's vocal on here and the call and response between Jack's vocal and Eric's guitar. Very, very strong. Deserted Cities of the Heart is one of my favorite songs that I've ever heard Jack do. Wonderful closer. The Felix Pappalardi's viola is a large part of this song, as is Jack Bruce's cello playing and the acoustic guitar. Very riveting track, very well sung by Jack as well. I always loved this track. I love the live version of this on Volume 2, which has a lot more fire to it. So, my number one is Wheels of Fire from 1968. So, just going into countdown again, then I'll go into some of the other Cream related material that I have. My number four is Goodbye from 1969. My number three is Fresh Cream from 1966. My number two is Disraeli Gears from 1967. And my number one is Wheels of Fire from 1968. Some of the other stuff I had got into this band on cassettes. So, just a Fresh Cream cassette. Some of these actually still playing. Here's the original cassette for that. I bought these in early 87 when I was first working at Ollie's. Here's Disraeli Gears right here. Some of these covers are cracked. These have definitely been played pretty hard. They still play for the most part. Here's Goodbye from 1969. Here's Live Cream. This came out, I believe, in 70. And Live Cream Volume 2 in 72. And later on, I would buy some of these on CD. Because here's Live Cream, the remastered version. Live Cream Volume 2. This is remastered as well. I think the first CD I might have bought by Cream was I'll take this one out here. Get a better look. Strange Brew, the very best of Cream. And this was the first time I heard Anyone for Tennis, which was a single for the band. That's definitely a different sounding song here with the not high on the guitar on this. And I believe this is an Eric Clapton lead vocal on here. So I have that. Here's the Cream Royal Albert Hall, London, May 2, 3, 5, and 6 from 2025. Let me bring that out for you. Now, they did 8 shows in 2005. They got back together. I know for 8 shows, Ginger Baker made $5 million. I don't know what Jack and Eric made, but they did 4 shows at Madison Square Garden and they did 4 shows at Royal Albert Hall. These are snippets and songs from the Royal Albert Hall performances. So this was a 2 CD collection. 1989, my grandmother, rest in peace, Nana, bought me Eric Clapton Crossroads, the box set. You can still get this box set, but now it comes more in a rectangular box. And on here, this was the first time I heard wrapping paper. And you have stepping out on here too, which is really cool. I'll go down the road. I'll probably do a show on the live Cream albums, and maybe it will even be part of the live cut. Last but certainly not least, their last show in their original form was November of 1968 at Royal Albert Hall. Here's the VHS. I had to dig this out of the archives, but I still own it. And I believe I bought this in 93. And I think this came out in 93 because when you read this, first of all, it shows Eric Clapton's name much bigger than Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker. And then it said, inducted into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, January 1993. When you go and you look at the back of this, it says, featuring Eric Clapton, winner of 1992 Grammy Awards. That would have been for Tears in Heaven, I believe. Or and maybe the Unplugged album too. But yes, I have this on VHS, the farewell concert from Royal Albert Hall, I believe. I remember November 26, 1968 was that show. So, what do you think of Cream's music? What are your favorite albums? How would you rank these four albums? What are your favorite songs by Cream? Are you a fan of the three members of Cream's other projects? They were involved with a lot of other things outside of Cream. And even though Eric Clapton became by far the most successful commercially of the three guys, they all were very creative throughout their lives musically. So, thank you all so much for watching this show on Cream, my album ranking. Again, let me know in the comments what your favorite songs and albums are. Till I see you again, do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.